Hello, welcome to Storytime. My name is Rosemary, and today I'm here with. Would you like to introduce yourself? She's not Kermit the Frog, it's just the name.
Cynthia,
how,
Cynthia Navarro.
how are you doing, Cynthia?
I'm doing good. And yourself?
I'm great. Um,
It's
I
good to know.
yes, thank you. Um, so I'm going to ask, and a lot of our podcasts usually go like this, and about awakening and spirituality. When would you say that you've been awake and aware, or have you had something profound to bring you into spirituality, or has it always been something in your life?
I think I've always known I was different. Um, just there's a when you look at my family history, I came from a history. My family dynamic was a very dysfunctional, emotionally abusive, verbally abusive. There was some sexual abuse there too, physical abuse, home.
Mm-hmm.
And so always felt like I was the one that was trying to find answers as to why there was so much pain and suffering in the people in my family, because I love them. And so I was always trying to find ways to help them. I kind of took on the identity of the peacemaker. I was a middle child.
I can relate.
And yeah, I took on that identity, the peacemaker, trying to make everybody happy, trying to bring balance. And while everybody else is just, doing their own thing, out of control, that stuff. So I've always known, like, I felt like I've even asked my mom, like, are you sure I'm not adopted? And she's like, no, you're not, because I'm so different. But looking back, I think now I can understand, I could see the big picture. It was very confusing because when you're so young and you're dealing with so much and you don't know how to process it and you don't have guidance and you don't have a good foundation and you're dealing with a lot of trauma. I mean, it was very confusing for me growing up and even into my early 20s, late teens, early 20s. Um, and now I can step back. Now I'm 40. I just turned 40 in April. So it's like this next half of my life, I feel like I have clarity. I have so much wisdom. I have so much knowledge that uh, I've learned, and I can step back and I can see the bigger picture now, and I can speak to that 10-year-old, and I can speak to that 7-year-old, and I can speak to that 15-year-old, and I tell her, you know, I tell her that um, everything's going to be okay, and we're going to figure it out, and it's amazing to be able to be in this space and have that clarity now. Whereas before I thought I was going crazy, I thought I was a mental, like I felt like I didn't belong, anywhere. It's weird. I don't know if you can relate, but
Yes, actually, very much so. Same kind of situations, a lot of abuse, and then not having that, like, a relationship with people to understand what a healthy relationship would look like to express your emotions. So, like you're saying, talking to your younger self and being like, okay, listen, you're in this situation, it happens, we're going to move forward. You're going to heal
mhm.
that. So I find that awesome that you do that, with your younger self,
Yeah,
your 15-year-old self. Yes. Um,
yeah, yeah. And then I've always known, I think with a lot of us that are awakened, I've always known it was bigger than myself. There was something, there was a reason, there was a um and then with me, I grew up very Catholic, in the Catholicism church. My mom was, and she still is, and and then I questioned that too, because it was like, why go to church and do all these things and then come home and it's just dysfunction? It didn't make
mhm.
sense to me.
Yeah.
And I questioned God, and I questioned who he was, because I thought, what I was taught. And then I went from there to kind of searching. I went into like Christianity, like really hardcore. I became that, I don't know, how do you say it? I became that Christian that judges everybody, like,
Okay.
uh, you know, uh, just wanted to be perfect, read the Bible, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for every stage because it taught me certain things. I'm like, I don't have any regrets because it was a journey. It was a journey,
Hmm.
and then that's when I really became to love Christ's teachings. Jesus and his teachings, and it just really resonated with me what he taught, but it contradicted what the church taught, and so um, I just fell in love with him. I fell in love with him and his teachings, and I just said, okay, I'm gonna just learn, about him. And so for a long time, I just learned about his teachings, and I wasn't part of any religion or any church, and that really was like a foundation for me, where it was like he was pure love,
Hmm.
forgiveness, compassion, understanding. It was so much. And I thought I was going to be done there. I thought, okay, I'm a Jesus follower. That's it. And then this past year, I've just been really looking into like, God is within us. That's something that, oh no, God is not within you. They teach you like, you're
Yes.
not God, you're a sinner in this. And it's almost like I feel like now, like I see people as little expressions of God everywhere. And I just have such love and compassion for people because of what I've been through.
Hmm.
And now I'm just like I'm like I don't even know what I believe anymore because there's so much coming into my life. I'm just like I'm so open-minded. Like I don't know, it's weird. I don't know if that's happened to you where you're just like you think you're like set on something and then something else comes in and you're ready. The universe is telling you like you're ready to receive this, and you're just this sponge and
Yes.
receiving all
Yeah.
information and all kinds of good stuff. And so now I'm just like, I don't even know anymore what's real. I'm just here for the experience and whatever happens, like, but I see that I had to get to a place in myself where I found love for myself and I found like no guilt, no shame, and that's hard. That's hard when
Oh yeah.
you've been through so much and you carry that. You feel guilty, you feel shame, you feel so many of these negative emotions that they're not even yours. They've been placed on you, and having to like go through that, one by one, and just release those titles or those attachments or those labels. I feel like I've come to a place within myself that I'm so free that whatever I absorb, I know I'm pure love.
Hmm.
I know that I'm good. I know, all these things, and whatever comes, I'm like ready to receive. I'm ready to receive. See, but getting there is the hard part,
Yes.
because you don't know that. Like, so,
Yeah.
anyways,
Well, I mean, okay, so let's touch a little on that. That I mean, people call it shadow work. What do you
right.
let? So how do you, you personally? Because I know each person does their own shadow work differently. Some people do it with people. Some people do it completely alone. Some people meditate. How do you go about doing your own shadow work?
I have um so for me it's been health wise about I want to say it's been about 10 years. um I got really really sick with autoimmune issues,
Hmm.
and I remember telling myself I'm going to find the answer, like why is my body attacking itself, and so that's when I started getting into a lot of natural holistic approaches, diet, things like that. And I put it into remission. This was in my early 20s.
Wow.
Put it into remission, and I got married at 18. By the way, had my daughter on my 18th birthday. So I was, I have a 22-year-old now, and have been with my husband since I was 18.
Wow.
And I've noticed that um, he's like my greatest teacher. Relationships have been my greatest teacher, and not only that, but as well my health. So I started getting sick about 10 years ago, like all kinds of, I had so many symptoms. I didn't even know it was autoimmune. It was pain. I couldn't get out of bed, brain fog, wasn't eating, losing weight. I have like a list of 100 symptoms that I had and didn't know what it was. And because I was in the natural field, I was trying everything. I was trying all these supplements, diet. I was going to different holistic doctors, and they were just like nothing was working.
Hmm.
Come to find out, I was living in a moldy house, very moldy house,
Oh.
and so the mold took over my body and basically almost killed me. And so I was so sick, I couldn't get out of bed, um, couldn't eat, was losing weight, and I was so frustrated because I was like asking God, like, why, why? And I remember the one prayer that I held on to was, I just want to know why, like, I just want to get it. If you're a loving God, I'm sorry, there's a train passing
It's
my.
okay.
If you're a loving God, why am I going through this? Let me get it. And so that was my prayer every day. Let me get it.
Hmm.
And I had to learn how to walk again. I had to literally, I couldn't do anything. I was bedridden. I couldn't do anything for myself. I was like, and it's very hard when you're self-sufficient. So my family, I have three boys and one daughter. They're the ones and they were young. I mean, this was 10 years ago, and my youngest is 11, and then I have a 13-year-old, a 15-year-old, and my daughter. So they became my caregivers. And I homeschool them as well, so they were home all the time, so um and they had to take care of me. They had to help me get out of bed. And so it's very, as a mother, it's your role is to take care of your family.
Yeah.
And for me, that was so hard to go through because they were taking care of me. And I remember just thinking, I'm going to get through this. And if they're going to know that no matter what, comes into their life, they're going to be able to get through it because I got through this. I'm going to find a way. And so that has been my journey the past 10 years, about 10 years. Um, I had double knee replacement surgery and elbow surgery within 6 months.
Wow.
And I had to learn how to walk again. And so for me, the shadow work was, I had to just sit and really be conscious of everything I did. Literally everything, literally one step at a time, I had to be conscious.
Yeah.
And it really helped me gain a perspective on a lot. It's like so many things that I was stressing about, so many things that I was taking for granted, like maybe a hug. I couldn't hug my kids for such a long time because I was in so much pain. Those little simple things
Yeah.
uh, that we take for granted. I was just, I couldn't do them. And so it really helped me just stop and be conscious of every thought, everything that I would think. And so it's almost like God said, okay, I'm going to make you like, your life is going to stop, but it's going to be for the better. And yeah, I was mad. I was like, oh man, I'm mad because watching my kids take care of me, and sometimes just seeing, they didn't know if I was going to make it. I didn't know if I was going to make it. But I had to let go of everything about myself, attachments, identities, even just giving my kids over to God and saying, you love them more than I do. And if I don't make it, you're going to take care of them. That was the hardest thing for me. Was one day I woke up and I said, okay, God, I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I know that you love my kids more than I do. And no matter what happens, they're going to be okay. And it's almost like something shifted when I let go. When you let go, you realize the more you let go,
Yeah.
um, something shifts, something shifts in the universe and your perspective changes. And I remember that was the hardest decision that I had to make, was let go of my kids and just trust, and by little things would happen, I would get better little by little. And it's been a very, very hard journey, very challenging, very difficult. I still have difficulty. I don't walk fast. I don't walk like normal people. I walk, slower.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't care. I'm like, hey, I'm walking, and I live with such a better appreciation, such a better, more gratitude. I just have that peace within. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like everything's gonna be okay. Like I went through
Yeah.
hell. Literally, I was hell on earth, and I brought heaven to earth because of what I've gone through. So my passion is to guide people who are going through similar situations that I am, and to help them in their journey. And I've learned so much through all of it that I have like these little nuggets of wisdom where I feel like there's a reason and there's a purpose. So
There
yeah,
is. Yeah. I feel that it was this going to be the, I was going to ask you what your passion is, but I could feel that
yeah.
from you. I understand that. Um, excuse me for shedding some tears. um, and I feel like you said it's funny you said gratitude. I was just talking about it today to be grateful, like you said, the little things. Like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people take for granted a hug, any of that at all of it, and going through an experience like that, going through experience of, um, I think one of the songs it is. I don't know if you've ever heard it. Live like you're dying.
Uh-huh. No, I if I hear it I probably will.
It's yeah. I think it's a country song. I forgot who said. I think it was Tim McGraw or something. But
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just like we have the now, and like you're saying, you're here to bring that, to let people know, like, I mean, and that's what I'm picking up from you, is that you're here to let people know that they're not alone. In a way, that's why we do the podcast. um and I believe you're a great warrior for going through all of that and pulling yourself through that and having your kids do that for you, seeing that and that surrender. That's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful that you've gone on. um Do you have any experience with energy healings?
Yeah, I'm really into, so I've always known I had that gift of energy healing. And I have a really awesome chiropractor out here in my area who is into, like, I call him the Yoda, because you literally I mean, he's not from this planet. I mean, I'm just like, he uses energy for energy work, and people don't even know what he's doing, because in my area people are so close minded to that.
Hmm.
um but he does a lot of energy work. So I've done, I've had Reiki done. Um and so what I've realized is, for me, one of my biggest things is, so I don't even know, I know I have gifts, but I don't know if I've tapped into them yet. I know they're there. And so I'm learning to live in pure love all the time, so that I can be able to just, if I'm love, I feel like I'm going to be able to just naturally use my gifts on for whoever comes down my, like, I don't even know. I'm just,
You're flowing.
and so yeah, I'm just going to flow. And I'm looking into learning different techniques. I'm thinking, I don't know if you've heard of the brain tap. I'm not brain tap, the motion code.
No, I haven't.
Um,
If you'd like to describe that, no.
so there's this, so another thing about my journey is I've had these like synchronicities, right? Where I've just had like this. So let me share one with you. So the reason why I really resonated with Jesus was because I remember one day, and I knew it was totally something outside of myself, because you know how you kind of think stuff and you're like, hey, maybe I made that up. So that's when I was like, whoa, this is what I resonate with. So I was really struggling with forgiving my dad, because he was a very abusive, like I said, he hurting people hurt people. Now I understand that.
Hmm.
And so, that was one of the first things that I experienced, was one of the from like that I knew that it wasn't me. So I was really struggling with forgiving him, and I remember sitting and just praying, God, please help me forgive my dad. And all of a sudden, I'm taken to this place. I don't know if it was in my mind. I don't know if it was, I don't know. So I'm walking down this tunnel, dark, dark tunnel, and next to me, I'm holding Jesus. Jesus is holding my hand.
Hmm.
And I've always lived in a state of fear. I'm a very, fear is one of those things that has just, you know, carried, like, I've lived in a state of fear my whole life.
I
And I
understand.
remember feeling so fearful. I'm like, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. And he's like, no, just trust me, just trust me. And so we're walking down this dark tunnel, and in front of me, I see my dad, and I see him angry. I see him, I see a lot of rage in him. Like literally, I see the devil, but in my dad.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, no, I'm afraid. I don't want to go down this tunnel. And so he's like, just trust me, just trust me. So we keep walking, and we finally get to the end. And in the corner of the tunnel, there's this little boy hunched down crying. And every time I tell this story, I can picture it in my head. And I asked him, I said, who's that? And he's like, that's your father. And when he said that, it was like the forgiveness. I was like, oh my gosh, like that's how God sees us, right? That's who we are. We're just innocent, pure children who have just gone through so much crap, and I never has seen my dad like that. Never thought of him that way. I've always thought of my dad as a very strong, you know,
Yeah.
uh, never saw him as a vulnerable child crying. And for him to show me that, it was just like I let go of everything. I was like, wow, you know,
Yeah.
what a word picture. And so that was one of the first experiences that I had that I can't explain. Another one was that I had gone to see a doctor, a mold specialist in New Mexico. It's like a 4-hour drive. And I remember being so sick, I couldn't even get in the truck. My husband had to get me in the truck. I was so skinny. I wasn't eating. I was so desperate. Um, so we go to this doctor, and he looks at my symptoms. He's like, oh yeah, you have mold toxicity, blah, blah, blah. And I remember thinking, I had gone to so many doctors, Rose. I was so tired, spent thousands of dollars. What do I do? What do I do? I'm tired of taking all this stuff. Nothing's working. I mean, I was literally bones, skin and bones. I was no energy. I couldn't even walk in the doctor's office. I was so weak. And I remember thinking to myself in my head, I'm like, okay, God, if I'm supposed to be here, then give me a sign. Right when I said that, he says, I want to tell you something. He looks at me and my husband. And I said this in my mind. Nobody knew. He says, I want to tell you something. He says, I had this dream like a week ago. And he's like, this girl came in who looked just like you, but a younger version of you. And she was on her knees praying, and there was thousands of people behind her. And he said, this girl was going to help a lot of people. And I burst out in tears crying. I was like, oh my gosh. I said, I literally just said in my mind, like, help me. Like, what am I doing here? I was so tired.
Yeah.
Well, that was another confirmation that, what I was going through was bigger than myself. So those little things that happened, things like that happened, helped me it gave me a little
Hope.
hope. Yeah, it gave me hope. I was like, okay, I'm not dying, like I'm gonna get through this. And so I remember leaving. He didn't like, it was a $500 appointment. He's like, I'm not gonna charge you.
Oh.
He's like, and so we left, me and my husband left there. Like it was a 4-hour drive. Like we didn't even speak to each other because it was just like, wow, like what was that? Like that was weird, And so I've had things like that happen where I've had people tell me, like, you're gonna make a really big impact,
Hmm.
and you're gonna really help a lot of people. And so, it's like you can't. I wish I could have like made it easier, like I wish wouldn't have been so hard. Maybe like the journey, but then too, if it wasn't the way it was, then I wouldn't be who I am,
Right.
So
Yep. And
that's
change any
another
one
thing.
thing, and then you wouldn't be where you are today.
Yeah. So it's like, it helps you understand, like it helps me understand when people are going through stuff, because I'm a fixer, right? I want to fix it. Like, I just want to like help them feel better. I want to fix it. And now it's like, okay, like it's their journey, and it's like, it's such a beautiful thing just to meet them
Hmm.
and guide them and love them and say, and just be there. And sometimes that's all we need, is just somebody to say, I understand, maybe it's going to be a little bit harder, than you expect. Because I never expected it to be as hard. Like, especially with the knowledge that I had and what I knew, it just didn't make sense. But you know what? It was, I don't know if, like, now I think it's maybe what I chose. Maybe I chose this, and my higher self knew. Like,
Yeah.
and so I don't know. It's just those little things. I have stories like that I'm just like, wow. Now I can be like, oh wow. And so it's really interesting because now I've stepped into the space where I'm ready. I'm ready um, to just be love. That's it. Like, that's all I want.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I do. Let me ask you, I'm with challenges right now. What are your, and it's okay if you don't feel like answering, but what are your viewpoints on, and you said fixer, on the way the current systems work for people, like the government, we see all this chaos, but what do you think of the system itself generally, like money and such?
Oh, that's another thing. So in my journey, I felt like I kind of, because I questioned everything. I've so I've lived my life with my kids kind of like on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Like I homeschooled them. I took them out of school. Like, I always knew, like, so they've never been in the school system.
Nice.
Um, because I feel like we've been conditioned to believe a certain thing, and that's another thing, like getting past that conditioning and the
Yeah.
well, I'm kind of like one of those conspiracy theorists. Like, I listen to a lot of like what's going on in the world, but now I don't really like, I feel like we all create our own world.
Yes.
And so I've even thought, like, what if each of us so that's like one of my, like, I love to talk about it. But I've never really been able to talk to anybody about it, because everybody's like, you're crazy, and I'm like,
You're not
no.
crazy. No, you're not.
I I feel like we're all like, people are awakening. Like, there's the consciousness, our consciousness is evolving, and I feel like we're going into a space where we all are going to create our own world individually, where with consciousness. And so, when it comes to money, uh, I mean, I don't have, like I said, I had to get rid of so much. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
money is one of them. I used to live in a mindset of scarcity, and it's interesting when you change that scarcity mindset, or like there's never enough.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Stuff just happens. So I feel like we all individually have to just really live in our love, like what we're love,
Mm-hmm.
and the universe provides. Because I've seen it, I've witnessed it in my life. So there's been times where I think it's the way we look at things, like, and it has to do with our consciousness. So I have so many stories. Let me see. Okay. So this is recently. So my husband is the opposite. My husband is the one that, he's the workaholic. He's the one that is always like uh, wanting stuff, wanting nice things. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I've been able to stay home because he works really hard, which I appreciate. But we view money differently, and it's funny because when things happen to him that are like where he's always like losing money, or like people don't pay him, or like, bad contracts. And on the other hand, like, I don't work yet, which I don't work. And so for me, like, it's crazy because sometimes stuff will just come into my life for free. Like, we'll go out to
Mm-hmm.
eat, and then uh, they'll be like, the manager will be like, oh, here's free dessert or whatever. It happens all the time, Rose. I'm not kidding. All the time I
I
get free stuff.
totally believe you. I was on a manifesting pizza here because I also am, I don't worry much about money. I have no income. So I've had free pizzas delivered to my house, and I go, I didn't order any. And I ended up sharing it with the neighbor because I'm like, I'm not even going to eat all of this.
Yeah. And so it's our perception individually. So if we're fearful, if we think that there's never enough,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a hard thing to come to overcome, because we're taught different, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're taught we're taught different. And so I think as we step into our fullness, slowly, it's almost like the consciousness shifts, because I've seen it with me. You don't need as much. Like, I used to go to the groceries. I mean, I have 4 kids, and I'm like, man, they eat all day long. I homeschool. $300 on groceries easily.
Mm-hmm.
And because what if, the world ends and we don't have, whatever. And so I got past that. And now it's like I go and I only get what I need. And I even save money. And so that's what I'm saying. It's one of those things where it's each of us has to really just do the inner work and just let go of the attachments,
Yeah.
and just be grateful. Like, those are the little things that we've, like, you just sit down and it, like, for me, when I couldn't eat and I wanted to eat so bad and I wanted to taste my food and I wanted to savor it, and I wanted to enjoy it. Now I sit down and I'm just like, I look at my food and I thank my husband for providing. I thank God. I thank the universe. I thank,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so great. It's just this space of gratitude. It's amazing. It's like, and you enjoy it more. You put that vibration into it. You put that loving vibration, that loving frequency, and it's like you eat and you enjoy it and you're filled and you're happy and you're in the moment and nothing else matters. Like, that's what life is meant. That's what life is about. Those little things.
Yeah. Being in the now, and we call it the flowing or zero point. Zero point is like
Yeah.
you just sit in the now and you're just balanced, and whatever you flow through, whatever is the, like you're describing, the universe has it. It's that surrender to know that whatever's going to come your way, it's going to be okay.
Right. And I feel like the people that, there's a lot of chaos happening in the world. There's a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
people are confused, because I feel like something has to happen for us to wake up, because we cannot continue going the way that we've been, like, as a collective,
Yes.
and the people that are going to go through hardship, it's because they need they need that wake up call. They need
Yeah.
that. And now I understand why, my journey happened, when it did, because I can see it now. I can feel it more, and I'm at a space where I'm at peace, and I can guide people. If something does happen, I don't have that fear. I know, like, oh man, I've been through this. Like, you
Yeah.
know, everything's going to be okay. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there like me that have been going through similar stories or similar journeys, where they're at a space now where, even though the world is falling apart, we're like, we're just like happy, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
It's like a birthing. I keep saying, but I think I said it earlier in landing zone. It's a birthing. It's like that membrane. It's the water is going to break. So yeah, it's contractions. It's this hard pressure. It's this labor that's happening with Earth, with people, with the collective. But
mm-hmm,
you're birthing something new. It's something new will come out of this, something better. So especially when people work together more, I believe that so much. So
right, right.
do you find it? Because I'm going to ask a lot of people. I have asked a few. That a lot of people that are like light workers, that are guiders, that are people here to help people, do you find it that you're in a place that is a little bit more secluded, or people that aren't awake, like is your area, your local area, people you talk to not aware as much?
Oh yeah, 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 especially my family. Like, my family, it's, so I live on the edge of Texas. I live like next to the border, which is crazy, because so I live like next to, I don't know if you know Mexico. So where I live, um, there's right across the border, there's like a lot of stuff happening,
Yeah.
and murders, and it's just a lot of, trafficking. There's illegals, a lot. And so I live like literally on the border, and in my town, it's probably one of the safest places to live. Like, it's weird. It's almost like this little, I don't know. I don't know how to say it. It's like a little farm town.
Nice.
And there's uh, it's interesting to see the people you come across. And there's this lady that comes over and helps me clean from Mexico every 2 weeks. And I've been able to kind of, so it's interesting to see where she comes from
Mm-hmm.
and how she thinks. And for her, um, her like what she wants in the most in the whole wide world is to become an American citizen.
Aw.
And she's trying to do it the right way, unlike, people are just crossing over illegally. It's so sad. It's so sad to see all the stories and hear what's happening. And I've been able to kind of talk to her a little bit, and uh, again, she's living in that fear, scarcity mindset
Right.
place, and I think she's kind of drawn to me, because she's been here for a while. She's kind of stuck around.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a very, like I said, closed-minded town. And that's why I was so excited when I found this group, because I was like, oh my gosh, like my peeps.
Yes. Yes. It's kind of like a home space. We call it that a lot, actually.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
even my husband, I love him dearly, and like I said, he's taught me so much.
Mm-hmm.
He's taught me so, like, that's another story about like relationship shadow work. I know his heart, and I know he loves me because he's been with me through this whole journey.
Mm-hmm.
But even my husband doesn't understand me. Like, I talk to him about like 5D, 3D, like, consciousness, and then he's just looking at me like, what? And I respect his place. Like, his place maybe is just to go out and be in the world and provide, and like, and I respect that. But man, it's been a hard one, because you want that partner who's on board with you,
Yeah.
who's, and I tell my husband, like I just like, and so he has a lot of like trauma too that he has to deal with, and I had to learn a lot of patience with him, and you know understanding, compassion, just love him for who he is, and not try and change him, which I tried to change him for such a long time. But
Yeah, I
that's another thing.
totally understand that. I really do. That's a common thread. So, yes.
And so whenever I kind of like close my eyes and I like meditate or I think about him, like the word I hear is patience.
Mm-hmm.
And and I appreciate that, because he has been very patient with me through my whole health journey. Um he never got frustrated, never treated me bad, never said, just get well. Like, for him to go through that and not have any expectations on me and just love me through it is like, I don't know,
It's the,
it,
when you're talking 3D, the 3D is like what we're in our bodies, and people, the 4D for me, it's like the time constraint, it's the needs and necessities that fear. And when we have that 5D, it's that moment of breaking those conditions, those chains. It's unconditional love. It's that heart space,
mhm.
the heaven space that we are bringing here, or making here, by being it.
Right. And I understand that now. Before, I was like, what's happening? I was so confused. I was like, because it's when you don't have guidance, it's like your things are happening and you feel the shift.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like yourself opening up. And so I really feel like I reach a space where like I'm limitless now, like,
Oh yeah.
um I I do have like deformities, a couple of deformities, not bad, but like in my hands and that are noticeable, in my feet, because of the autoimmune.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been another thing that I've had to like just accept, um, you know, uh, accept who I am. And even though to other people it might seem uh, like I do have like physical limits, but internally, consciously, spiritually, I feel like I'm limitless. Like,
Yeah.
I can do whatever, like I can like, and just because, like I told my husband, because he builds houses, and so I want to really open up a company, and build like smaller houses that people can afford.
Oh wow.
And just because, like, I'm like, I don't want people working to pay like a $2,000 mortgage, and like they don't have that time to like enjoy life. Like, I just want to like help people, give them
Yeah.
something that they can afford. And like, so I don't even know like with that what's going to happen, but that's I'm like, just because I want people to know that there's more to life out there than just work, 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 work.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like, I just want to make a lot of money, babe, and like see what happens. Like I feel like so much is possible now, whereas back then it was like just to like, even just to take a breath, it was like I couldn't do it. I mean, I was like, so I feel like if we all collectively reach that space,
Yes.
you know, where we just like become limitless and we just step outside of ourselves and like be able to like live and experience, like the world would be so much better.
Totally agree. Totally agree. So
So,
I will ask you to. I'll ask you a question. So, okay, you kind of described it, but what kind of world? Let's say I know some people talk about the quantum hypno healing therapy, or we call it the event horizon. It's like when
mhm.
that membrane breaks. What do you envision that world looks like to you? What in your world? What would that look like?
I've never really thought about it, but because I brought it to my world, I feel like
Yeah.
um, if we just be love and we love each other unconditionally, like really without judgment,
Mm-hmm.
without any kind of negative, like just be in community, um,
Yes.
loving each other and respecting each other's purpose and gifts. Um, you know, not having to pay all these, like the government puts so much
Oh yeah.
stress on taxes and, you know, like I think more people are starting to realize like why do we really need the government, you know? Um, I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like even for me the borders or even like citizenship. And I know you've talked about it, but I
Right,
go and I look and I say I'm an Earth citizen. So when somebody asks you like, where you're from, and I'm going, okay, I was born in a state in the United States, but I feel like an Earth citizen. I'm connected to Earth. I'm connected to the sky. I'm connected to God.
right,
So
right.
to define, and that's like you're saying, it's kind of like to define it, to put people the labels on it. And I do see the like a barter system more. At least that's what I mean, this is what I've seen. So that money
Yeah.
that is going to come, I feel it, I do see it. I've seen it and it's been confirmed with other people that it comes down. Um and it's not that some people are attached to it, okay, but we that's where you've come in, like you're saying, the guidance part.
Hmm.
To guide people to, okay, it's all right. There are ways for you to trade skill for skill, to teach
Right,
people to live off the land, that kind of back to the old ways in a way, living off the
right,
land. So yeah,
right. Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. I see that too. I see that too. Like people in my town, people are going more to small businesses. They're going more to like farmers markets. My daughter, so my daughter is another story, but I believe that she's going through her awakening. She has this like ever since she was little. She's only 22, and she wants to open up a business where she sells tea. She does like matcha. She does farmers markets, so she does like matcha tea. She used to be vegan for a long time because she was really like loves animals, and she did vegan and but like even at her age, so there's a lot of kids at her age, her age that are like you're like, whoa, I wish I was like thought the way you like. She's like 45 and I'm 40, but for her, she really believes in community. And so she wants to open up like this little tea room so that people can come and just be present
Hmm.
and just sit and like have conversations and like, enjoy each other. Like that's her heart. And so I've been trying to kind of help her with that. But I have seen, where we people are realizing that they don't need as much, like
Yeah.
they don't need as much. Like we've been like lied to, like,
Yeah.
and so people are starting to realize, like you said, bartering. My husband does that a lot, because he's in the construction business, but bartering and like uh, we have fruit trees around our property and When you see how much it gives, it's like, why do we need this much, you know?
Yeah. And
So
it's funny you said fruit cheese. I just want to bring this up because you brought me to a dream I had, a vision I had. I've seen it where people are, it's like their front lawns. They're just full
mhm.
of vegetables and fruits, and people walk down the street and they trade that. Sometimes they trade for, hey, let me go visit the neighbor. How are you doing? Do you, hey, I made bread. Hey, I made squash soup from the squash that you're growing on your front yard. I've actually seen and had dreams of that space.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I thought about that.
Yeah.
I've thought about that. Like all that, imagine like, oh my gosh, that would be like so like awesome. Like I don't know. Like I don't know like where you're from, but like I've seen that like pop up where people are starting to grow their own food.
Yeah.
Um I mean, if you even like this is another topic, but like what are they putting on our like crops? It's called biosludge. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes, I have seen
Um
it. Yeah.
oh, I'm like it's it's so far from what it's supposed to be that something has to shift
Hmm.
because there's no way it can get worse. It's just like, and I feel like so many people just see this like small picture. I feel like people like us see the big picture and we're like, okay, something's got to change.
Yeah.
And the universe is telling us to get back to our roots, get back to who we are, get back to community, get back to family, get back to relationships, get back to the simple things. Like I said, like, you know, people go out to eat and I've seen it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I get free stuff is because I go out to eat and I'm like, oh man, this is so nice. You know, like this is so nice. I'm so grateful for the people in the kitchen
Yeah.
and just having, but there's some people that go and they feel entitled. Like the entitlement, it's like, dude, you're not entitled. Like, you know, we're all like, that is like so wrong, you know, like the entitlement, like I deserve, no, you know?
Yeah. It's
So,
not like, I mean, people are working for it. They are putting their effort into providing that.
right.
And I mean, and I've come from both sides. I've worked food, I've worked retail. I've done that for a while, so I have just compassion for enough people and those when they're working that as well. And it still comes down to me, I would go, to go and help, to want to help that, to want to facilitate, to want to be grateful for that. They're putting their effort into doing it. And a lot of people do it because it's their passion. They cook because it's their passion.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, like having that space where people, and okay, I'm in New York. So
Oh, wow.
I'm in Western New York. I'm in, I'm in a city. So, and I see that where it's like, we have, people want to do the cut their lawns and have all that, like conformity of it in a way to control that, as where my yard is not as controlled. There are trees and weeds, and now there's raspberry bushes growing back there that are wild. The animals go back there, and I don't mind. I go,
Mm-hmm.
it's nature, and to, to have that like symbiotic relationship with Earth, I think is a really important thing. And like we're living here, so even that, like
Right.
people talk the Schumann resonance, the heartbeat of
Uh-huh.
Earth, like what are we doing to with living with Earth? If that heartbeat is going crazy, if that Schumann resonance and the people feel it in the collective,
Right.
you
Right.
feel that
Right.
energy. So
Right.
I believe what you're doing is
Wow.
really great. I mean, wow. And your daughter, like that's awesome to have create a space where people can just be.
Yeah, that's like, and so right now she's kind of going through some health issues too, which is, it's almost not the same as what I went through. She's struggling with autoimmune. Um, and so part of it's genetic, a lot of it. And I tell her, you know, she eats so good. She takes care of herself and I tell her, you know, that's one of the things that I've learned is like, I'm like, as long as you do the right thing one day at a time, you push forward.
Hmm.
Think about every thought that you're having. If you process it, let it go. Like this is your time to figure it out and it's going to get better. it's going to get better. Like day by day, do the right thing. Um, think about, just process everything. And I'm able to kind of guide her.
Yeah.
And right now, she really doesn't understand. It breaks my heart to see her kind of like go through similarities. I mean, it's not as bad, but she is in pain and, things like that. And so um, I can kind of like guide her and tell her it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to like, this is part of your journey. And I know it is. Like, I know there's so many girls her age that are probably going to be going through what she's going through, and she's got to get through this so that she can help them. And she's so funny because she's like, Mom, I don't want to hear your TED Talks. I already know, like I don't want to hear it. And I'm like, okay, but see, that's another thing I know I've grown, because I would want to fix her. I would want to like
Yeah.
take it on, as an empath. Like, no, like I want to take, but now I'm like, this is her journey. Like, I have to just allow her to go through it and guide her and be here, and so it's a ripple effect. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but I know there's a purpose behind it. I know, I mean, if not, I know that she's going to be stronger through it. I know all of this. I can see the future, and I'm just kind of like, she's like in the baby stages,
Yep.
And
Yes.
because of what I've gone through, the wisdom that I've acquired and everything, I know it's not going to be as hard for her. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I know that I have so much, to bring, that she's going to be good.
Yeah. She has a great teacher, and a lot of we've talked about this here. A lot of the people, a lot of the children today, they're coming in with these people call upgrades, new codes. They're coming in with so much enlightenment. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been a common theme that we say that a lot of people don't realize that their children are actually saving their parents.
Oh, yeah. I can say that my boys, oh my gosh, they're like I said, they're 11, 13, and 15. And they are the most compassionate boys, that like so unselfish. They're always wanting to help. And I'm grateful that I was that through me they were able to acquire that compassion, that love, like
Hmm.
um because so like nowadays, the kids that are in the school system, they're so, it's all about, you know social media,
Yep.
it's just it's and I see mine, and I'm like, wow, like they're going to be great husbands one day, or whatever. um Healers, like my 11-year-old, I think he's a healer, because he literally puts his arms around you and you feel this like loving energy.
Yeah.
And he's the one that shadows me with, like, when I sage my house, or I'm blessing the house, or he's the one that lights the sage, or like, like, and he's so little, and I think he has that like intuitively already in him, and I'm like, okay, this is good, like, so it's gonna be so awesome to be able to see that, who they
Yeah.
become.
Yeah. Okay. So before I wrap it up, do you have anything to say to people out here, whether they're newly awakening, they're in their journey, anything that you would like to say to the collective out here?
Oh yeah, I would like to say that I love you, that you are loved, that no matter what you're going through, your higher self is guiding you. God is guiding you, that you have this amazing purpose. Whenever it feels like giving up, just push through, do one thing at a time. Um, Learn how to love yourself, learn how to listen, like really, really just listen for guidance, because we don't know how to do that, right? We don't know how to just stop and listen.
Mm-hmm.
And you got it. Like, you got it. And there's a lot of people to support you. We're here for humanity. We're here to uplift our world, uplift people. And just, I love you.
Thank you, Cynthia, for joining us. And honestly, and I know you have a lot of stories. I feel that you can come back for any other podcast. We can do multiple ones. It's fine. And I'm glad that you can join our Discord, the community hub, and just you being here, you being you, is a tremendous gift to humanity, to this community hub, um, and to people out there, like you said, that are just listening and finding their way or looking for answers. So
Yeah.
feel great that you can
Yeah.
join us then.
And thank you, Rose. And another thing is too is those, when things come in your path, it's all synchronicity. There's a purpose. Like
Hmm.
stop and receive it.
Yes.
Like we have to learn how to receive.
Yes.
So much, so many times we give, and when you just begin to receive, you have to teach. You have to actually. I had to teach myself to receive. It's a beautiful thing to receive and receive whatever God brings into your path, whatever the universe brings. Just receive it. And so, if anybody stumbles upon this podcast, it's because it was meant for them.
Yes.
And that's my heart, is that uh, somebody would get some kind of encouragement or guidance. And I'm here for that.
Yeah.
If anybody needs help,
It
I'm here.
it brought me to a saying that I've used, and you were talking about how it's to embrace is to be embraced.
Hmm.
So I definitely feel that,
Yeah.
and
And I appreciate you, Rose. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so
I'm
much.
gonna, I'm
Okay.
gonna call you Rosie Rose because I always give.
That's okay.
And now I have a friend in New York. I can say, yeah, I have a friend in New York. So
Yes. Thank you.
thank you. God bless.